All right.
Hi, and welcome to Monday Mavericks. I just had to rehearse that in case I said Maverick Mondays.
You did a great job, Chrissy.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how I remember this. You know
Okay.
how I know it's Monday Mavericks instead of
Okay.
Maverick Mondays? I
How?
think about the song, Just Another Manic Monday.
Okay.
And I go, it's not that.
Okay, so it's the reverse. You just have to remember that part.
Gosh. So yes, the madness in my mind. Anyway, hi everyone. Thank you for being
Hi.
here. Yay, it's Monday, and you know what that means. It's Monday Mavericks, and today we have one of my favorite people, Dr. Elliot Kaminetzky. Yay!
Hey.
Thank you for being here today. I'm going to
Round of
introduce me,
applause.
and then I'm going to let you introduce you. Okay, so I'm Chrissy. I'm the executive director and founder of OCD Game Changers, author of Pure OCD, and the founder of OCD Peers. Go to ocdpeers.com, yes, to join a group and treatment for OCD consulting. Now, let's go to Elliot. Elliot, tell everybody who you are.
Sure. I am Dr. Elliot Kaminetzky. I have a private practice, My OCD Care, and that is in Lower Manhattan. I treat children and adults and everyone in between. And yeah, I have a lecture series, the My OCD Care lecture series, that's going to be starting season 2, which is going to be, about research and its clinical takeaways, very simple, because our field always moves forward and it's not the same thing every day. And it's really highlighting new things that come out and how it can be helpful to you. And that's season 2. And child behavioral health, in response to this pandemic, a lot of parents are having a really hard time. A lot of child therapists are having a really hard time with regards to adapting their treatment for kids, over the internet. Um, you know, and I think like kids are already on the computer for so long, all day with school. So, child behavioral health really works on the treatments that help parents be the therapeutic agent, such as parent-child interaction therapy and SPACE, where you can really treat childhood disorders, with empowering the parent to really implement the treatment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Very well thought out, too.
Yeah, thank you. That's me.
Really quickly, before I let everybody know kind of what this is, tell us about you said second season. So what's the first season and where can people find it?
Sure. So if you go to my website, myocdcare.com, I think if just like on the front page, if you go towards the bottom, you'll see a lot of the lectures. On my YouTube channel, it's like you'll find, if you do My OCD Care YouTube, you'll see all the videos. I've interviewed excellent scholars. Perhaps you've heard Chrissy Hodges. Yeah, she was.
Right. I heard she was on there.
Yeah, she was excellent. She really gave us the, brilliance of peer support, and it was actually really awesome. And really always fun to speak to people. And you always need a platform in order to speak to someone, because you can't just be like, speak to me, Dr. Steve Hayes or something like that. So you make up this platform, and then, people actually sit down and talk to you. It's great.
To quote Stuart Ralph, he was like, I really just want to talk to all the experts. And so selfishly, I created a podcast just so I could get people on and get knowledge for myself.
There you go. Yeah, it's great.
Stu would not kill me for saying that. He says it all the time.
Yeah. Around tax season, I'll interview the greatest accountants. It's great.
Awesome. Well, that's, part of the reason why I wanted you to come on today. So for those of you that don't know, here at OCD Game Changers, what we really want to do is to elevate and put people front and center stage that are doing things that are just out of the norm. Not that the norm is not good enough, but people that are really, taking the risk and taking the chance and bringing information to our community that helps give people help and hope and know that they're not alone, and other avenues for us to learn more information. And Elliot, I really appreciate you just kind of splashing on the scene last year. I always love, your willingness to speak up and speak out about things. And then, starting your OCD care series. I just really appreciated that. And of course, being on there. So Monday Mavericks is what we do. This is what we do. We bring people on so you can know about them, so you can start following him and you can hear. Obviously, he's got this awesome series coming up with a bunch of researchers and research, which I would not be able to follow in the first 5 minutes, but many of you will.
Nah, we're gonna make it like super like straightforward. Throw out all the jargon. Like we don't have to pretend we're smarter than we are, and just give people helpful information.
I love it. I think it's so needed. And I do think a lot of times, it's let's publish papers and let's do studies and things, but to be able to in real time talk to people so you get a greater understanding of what's going on. I really appreciate you and what you do. So let's get started. Thanks for being here, everyone. I'm going to put it on comments. If you have questions for Elliot, just holler at us. How did you get into treating OCD to begin with?
Okay, that is a great question. So there's definitely a lot of mental illness in my family. There's a lot of various forms of anxiety and depression and, something, that I've experienced myself. So this was the answer you're not allowed to give in grad school, but ultimately, one way or another, we kind of, if we could become a therapist ourselves, we'll definitely save so much money on therapy.
Yes.
But why I went into OCD specifically, aside for, having family members that have it, is I had an externship at the Reed Center. And, I really just got awesome training about this treatment that actually really works, exposure and response prevention. And I think, perhaps it's just, wanting to see results and like really wanting to be proud of the work that I do. I think just, for a psychologist, our best medication is like behavioral treatments. And I find it just happens to work and it works fairly quickly. And you get to see people who haven't, done something or they've avoided something for so long. And then suddenly they're just starting to do it. And you get to like be part of people's like life-changing events. And it's just so inspiring. So I did that for a year and then I was able to stay there for a second year. And it was just such an awesome experience. And I'm like, this is what I want to do all day. Mm-hmm. Right. This is, so that's how that got going.
I talk to, including my business partner who's now treating OCD. I talk to a lot of therapists that say the same thing. It's the magic of literally people going from ground zero at times. Like when you get to therapy, you're at ground zero because, you've been dealing with it for so long. There's no hope. You don't even know you have OCD. And then the change can happen so rapidly that and I think that it's so great for therapists to be able to get that gratification of I'm doing something, I'm helping people, and I'm watching the transformation happen before my eyes.
And I also think it's very important to validate that everyone's, treatment goes differently, right? Like there are some people who, get better quickly and they stay better. There are some people who have partial response. So I feel like, yes, like that's very, very exciting to have that rush of like people getting better, but people shouldn't feel like just because they don't have that result, sometimes it just takes longer than, what's sometimes advertised, or sometimes, one of the greatest treatment responses is they're less ashamed of themselves. And I feel like that really speaks to so much of the work you do, right? Mm-hmm. Like for someone to just not feel shame, mm-hmm. And walk around and feel like there's something that they can never tell anyone ever about, right? So sometimes when they could just get past that point, I think that can make such a huge difference, even if they're still having intrusive thoughts that they're engaged in, compulsive behavior.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a testament to the people like you that are committed to this community. It's the yes, we know that the behavior piece works, but we also know that everybody isn't just like, okay, just whatever you call it when it, yeah, tongue in cheek. No, not tongue in cheek. What am I? Whatever. When you're laying flooring and it's like lock and go or whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I just lost that whole thing. But that's what I appreciate about people like you is that, the commitment that you have to the community and just, everybody isn't the same, but there's just so many layers to treatment. There's so many layers. And the research piece, I think, is so important. I wish I could understand more or have time to understand more. But tell me a little bit how you got into the research. I mean, obviously you have to already have the research mind, right? I mean,
Well, I haven't actually. Most of my research is actually on mental health stigma, particularly in the context of romantic relationships. So, like for example, when do people? I guess how people make decisions about relationships when it comes to people with mental health labels, right? So that was actually my master's thesis, and my dissertation was actually about ways to reduce mental illness stigma. But I'm actually mostly a clinician and a trainer. So I train postdoctoral fellows, and I'm hopefully getting my first extern coming up. So research is just something that I'm very passionate about, recognizing that our field just moves forward, and we don't want to be practicing the same thing, decade after decade after decade. There's important nuances that are coming up, and I want to be kind of the conduit to just, because people are tired and busy and often they don't have a lot of time to read journals.
yes,
So I want to be able to just like get the information out both to fellow clinicians, like, hey, by the way, this is something you should keep in mind. And also for people who are, experiencing OCD and maybe they're getting treatment and they're like, hey, this is something I should potentially keep in mind and maybe even share with my own therapist. Right. So that's what I'm hoping to do with this season 2 of the series.
I love this. It's all clicking for me now. And so is what I was trying to say earlier, which would be tongue and groove.
Oh, tongue
That's
and
how I was
groove.
talking about.
Okay, nice.
That was going to bother me the whole time if I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, so what I'm hearing, and I want to talk about this a little bit more, is, your series is basically going to be just this people being able to see the face of research and how it impacts our community. And so while we're seeing books piling up over here, I should read this and I should read that, whether it be clinician or a person with OCD or family with OCD, now all of a sudden they can engage with a video with you talking to someone who's actually involved in the research, which not only could pique their interest of, oh my gosh, this could be groundbreaking to my own treatment, but also it could show them, I really want to go read more about this and learn about it and maybe even become an expert in their own right. Is that what I'm hearing?
100%. So some are going to be just like, here are some articles that really shape the way I treat OCD. And, some of my trainees, like they're also going to put out some of them. And some will be speaking to people who just want to publicize their own research, right? I feel like sometimes people will put out really excellent research, but there's just so much research out there that it could kind of get lost in the mix. So, it'll be a great position to be in to be able to like take a couple of papers and like put a spotlight on this, particularly if it has like a lot of, meaningful applications to treatment.
Mm-hmm. You're the OCD game changer research guy. That's what you are.
Done. Sign me up.
You're elevating people that are doing research and putting them out into the community.
100%. Because there are people in their ivory tower who publish and have a ton of pressure, to publish. And then there are people who are out in the field, like, seeing a ton of patients like all day. And oftentimes they don't speak. So I would like to be the translator between the two in this second series. And if it's successful, then I'll keep going. And if not, I won't.
Okay,
if it sucks, I will stop doing it.
I'm going to ask some questions, but I might be in over my head, and that's okay. So just let me know. But
Sure.
I'm following here. So we're going a little deeper than normally Monday Mavericks would. So this is great. So tell me what, because I feel like I'm hearing the passion behind why you're doing this.
Right.
So tell me the problem, or tell me the solution that you're providing. If someone is out there and they really are this, I want to do some research, I'm passionate about this, I've got all this set up, is the fear no one's going to read it, it's not going to get taken serious, you know, is no one ever even going to see this? Do you have to be someone that's published 8,000 things to even get noticed? So, you know, what is the solution that you're providing?
The solution that I'm providing, I think it's this, that when people practice, I think sometimes they just kind of keep to what they're doing, right? And I feel like it's important, just as research evolves, that our clinical practice evolves. And I think if we kind of keep within our bubble, we're not necessarily exposed to, you know, the most recent research. And I feel like it would be a great service to be able to just help people, you know, have very digestible bits of information that has research and what would be the clinical implications.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
So that's that project.
Well, okay. So before there's a couple questions, and I was on the banner thing, so I didn't see them.
Sure.
So Cynthia, hi. Good to find your website. What's the name of your peer mentors thing? So we do group practice, OCDpeers.com, and that's where we run groups. Mackenzie, thank you for being there. Thank you for being there, Mackenzie. And then Michael, yes, Michael Schramm, hey. So he was asking, there's going to be a series. How exciting. So with that, let's back up a little bit, Elliot.
Yes,
let's talk about what inspired you to do your first series of My OCD Care, and then you could move in a little bit more on some of the details of how people can find out about the second one.
Sure. So the first series, it was OCD Awareness Week, right, coming up. And I'm like, oh, what would bring awareness to OCD? You know, like, how can I do my part to bring awareness to it? And I'm like, I know, I'll have people talk, you know, interview people who are, you know, really big leaders in the field, particularly those who like bring something new to the table. So someone who I was really happy to interview was Ellie Leibowitz, Dr. Ellie Leibowitz of Yale, who started the SPACE treatment, Supportive Parenting for Anxious Childhood Emotions, because I thought he really did something new, right? So often in child therapy, for different anxiety disorders, like exposure is the number one treatment. Sorry about that. However, you know, very often kids will start and then they'll be like, you know, no fucking way, right? Exactly. They'll be like, yeah, I'm not doing this, right? Or like they will, right, exactly. Like, yeah. And, you know, I found that, you know, sometimes, you know, kids will like get it and then they'll go home and they'll, you know, continue doing compulsions with their parents, right? And they're like, let the therapist figure it out. So, you know, SPACE really bridged that gap to help parents be the therapeutic agent. That simply by removing the parental accommodations, you could have, you know, treatment that's just effective as CBT without even involving the kid, right? Right. So I think it was just like this huge breakthrough. And so I got trained in SPACE, and I think it really, I feel, fills a need. And, you know, with the series, I wanted to just do things like people who are doing interesting things. Yeah. Like, you know, John Hirschfield and his memes. I thought that was just so cool. I'm like, let's just talk about memes. Like, that's what we all want to talk about, right? So that was the idea with the first series, is like people doing interesting things and talking to them.
John Hirschfield came out to Game Changers last year, and we were sitting there talking, and he was like, we were talking about what he was going to talk about during the speech, and I was like, you're going to talk about your memes or something? And he was like, well, just so you know, I've written and I was like, John, I know how many books you've written, and I was like, but you're here because of your memes. And I think,
right, exactly.
What?
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into the, right? I think that's, you know, goes into like the idea of the second season is like, there are these brilliant things, but if you can't relate it to people, like they're just going to miss it. And I feel like within those memes, you have really important information, like really subtle information, and it's communicated so well.
Yes.
So I want to do that just with like new research, like
So-
what it wouldn't be meme form, but it'll be like, potentially engaging, or just like give you what you need to know. Right.
Maybe you could involve John and like he could create a meme after each episode.
Right. I'll get him down.
So here's an interesting question that just popped up. When we think about research, I'm just acting as the layperson here, just so you know. So when you think about research, like my brain's like, okay, we need to think about something else because I can't process any of that. Yada, 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 even though I'm very grateful for it. But how are you, what is going to be your strategy in breaking down this research for people to engage and be like, wow, I totally get that.
Okay, cool. So I guess maybe they'll be like, I will explain what this is about, and I'll be like, fast forward it to like this part to just get the bare bones of it. Yeah. Right. Or kind of just, like, I think you can make it engaging. I think what we do as therapists, like, even how we're explaining and what you do in peer support is like you explain how does exposure therapy work? Like when people are like, what is exposure therapy? Should I go for it? You're basically breaking down research in a way that people could appreciate it, right? You're just distilling it down, right? Based on people who have brought it from like the lab to treatment manuals to, the people who train you. And then you're putting it in Chrissy's way, right? In a way that people could appreciate. So I think that's really what you're doing is you're just distilling new stuff and putting it in a way that, people could appreciate without like just tuning out. Right.
I like that. Yeah. Well, and I feel like we're all in this BFRB group. That's what I call it.
I call it OBS. OCD Anxiety BFRB Specialist, OBS. I'm the only one who uses that acronym. I'm just waiting to forget, but yours took off. The BFRB group.
But I think you're so interesting. I think that you're perfect for this opportunity with the second series because you go in and sometimes I see your comments and I'm like, I can't even understand like after the first 3 sentences, and that's fine. I don't have a clinical mind. But then like your humor balances that out so well that it's almost like, okay, wait, I can make up for this, and then now I can retry.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if I like joke too much, and I just like should just get a tattoo like "Don't take me seriously," just on my forehead.
The sarcasm comes through.
All right, good.
At least it does for me, and I think most people. So
right, like the travel bidet, like that I posted today. Like I thought that was just great. Like
I hope people,
yeah, they made a travel bidet, and I'm like problem solved.
I need to check into that. So anyway, before
moving on.
So when you were talking about space, which thank you for clarifying that. I've seen a lot of information about space. I have no idea what it is. And I know it's therapeutic anyway, and that's not my field, and that's fine. But does that have an influence on what you're now doing with the child behavioral services?
Yeah. So child behavioral health.
Health. Sorry. Health.
No,
child behavioral health.
So it definitely does. So there's parent-child interaction therapy, which I use to treat kids with, disruptive or oppositional behavioral issues between ages 2 and 7. And then there's space, which is treats anxiety issues for kids. I think below 17 is what the research was for. And both of them, what they have in common is that they really rely heavily on the parents. And I think parents, sometimes they have this idea of therapy that here, I'm going to like stay in the waiting room and I'm going to read my magazine and you're going to fix my kid. And they're going to, the kid's going to go home to the same situation. Everything's going to be the same. But these two treatments really empower the parents to be the one that, are able to apply the treatment. So for PCIT, it's helping parents be consistent to like find the positives, to, how to praise their kids appropriately, how to find them doing the good things instead of just that negative cycle. And also in doing discipline, to just be consistent, like lower your standards on what you're expecting of your kids, and just be consistent on that lower level. And just by doing that, it's like, I think one of the most effective therapies out of all psychotherapies is parent-child interaction therapy. And then there's also space, which is, just by parents removing their accommodation, like childhood anxiety drops significantly, because we're only with the child like 1 hour per week, right? And that's such a tiny little slice of their life, right? But the parents are, around so often, right? So you can really maximize your, therapeutic effect just by having the parents really on board. So I think Space really did a great job at giving you very solid tools to make that happen, because, it's easy to just say like, stop accommodating your kids' anxiety, but it really gives you a very structured way to understand it and to get rid of it. And like during COVID, it's kind of really hard, to do child therapy, because, a lot of kids just don't want to, spend another minute in front of that screen, right? But I think when the parents are empowered to really do these treatments, I think really the kid is the one that benefits the most. Great.
Well, thank you. And thank you for doing that and explaining it to us.
Yeah.
This is definitely something different than the last time we chatted. It's like a whole new practice.
Yeah. I like to throw things against the wall, both literally and figuratively. And whatever sticks, I go to that, right? Just throw a ton of things at the wall.
Whatever doesn't stick goes straight into the bidet.
Exactly. Wherever you are, it comes with you.
And hey, not alone notes. Yay! Whether you're Morgan or Molly, I don't know, but hey. So a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. Next to last question is going to be, where do you see My OCD Care series in 5 years?
So you're talking about season 5. That's where, I don't want to give a spoiler. I don't know. Like,
all right.
I kind of take things day by day. So as far as the series, if people are watching it and people are responding to it, I'll keep doing it. And otherwise, I'll figure out another way, to help people.
Well, I will give you a little bit of a boost.
Let's hear it.
It doesn't matter if people are responding to it immediately.
Really?
It is so needed. Yes.
Okay.
It's so needed. And I think in advocacy in general, and something I've learned over the many years I've done advocacy is your series could not feel that big in the beginning, and in 5 years from now, change someone's life. And that's all that matters, right? So
that's an awesome point.
Yeah, there's a lot of what I really appreciate about you, and when you brought the series out last year, I was so excited because I'm just generalizing, and I don't want this to be taken negative, but there is a bit of a discrepancy sometimes between just the therapeutic thinking and clinical stuff and then the lived experience. And there's a lot of us out there doing podcasts and doing videos who have lived experience. And, of course, Stu's podcast, Hello, is amazing but at the same time, you even going off in a different direction with the research piece, it's just so important. And it's so important how you're bridging the gap, that anybody is going to be able to watch your series and be able to follow and benefit in their own treatment, or say, oh my gosh, I heard this on My OCD Care. I'm going to take this to my therapist. Maybe we can implement this. So I do want you to know how important it is. And this is why advocacy can be hard, because it's like, well, I want to make sure that everybody likes it. Well, screw that. Because what if one person in your entire year's worth of series, you change their life? That's all that matters. Yeah.
And, some of the feedback from the first season has been, definitely enough to get me to the second season. Like, you heard, someone will just, when I went to the ABCT conference in Atlanta, what was this, 2019? And because nothing's going on in 2020. But so probably 2019. But like, strangers coming over, like that was like a really great. I'm like, yay, someone knows me who I don't know. That's so cool. I'm sure you're probably used to that, but
it becomes interesting. People know me for the groinals.
Groinal girl is my favorite hashtag.
The groinal or the banana.
Right? I think that's so brilliant. I think you have like an awesome marketing knack. Like you just like understand what people go for. And I feel like, you could talk about groinals and give like a whole lecture about it, but just normalizing it to the point where you put it on a little bag, I think is brilliant.
And here's my new photo here.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
We have grapefruit, everybody. This is, I'm not going to name who did this, but it is, I hide it because it's super triggering.
Oh, yeah. That is pornographic.
That is a slice of a grapefruit, just so we balance out having the banana.
Yeah.
Here we go. Banana.
In like the preview, it's going to be like HBO, like contains adult content, adult language, nudity.
We're going to have to blur out
the
grapefruit. So Michael wants to know, how can we watch the series?
Cool. So you could go to myocdcare.com and it's going to be on the front page. There'll be a link to series 2.
When does it start?
So the first one should be out, I would say, within a week or 2.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
So, and Michael too, and anybody who's watching, feel free to go to Elliot's YouTube page as well.
Yeah.
I blast out your YouTube page every time I send out resources. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, go to his page and subscribe, and then you'll get to see every time he uploads things. So the final question of the day would be, and this is great because it's kind of a segue of what we were just talking about. If people are on the fence to do advocacy, which a lot of people are, people want to give back, whether it's a therapist or whether it's someone living with OCD or family. But there's often a block of people aren't going to watch, or people aren't going to listen, or people aren't going to care. I always say, by the way, the first couple of years, they don't like it. They don't say that they're listening, but they're listening. And you'll find out in a few years after you just get the bigger following. What you put out there is amazing. What we put out there is saving lives. And so it's important. But that was a segue. So what would you tell somebody if they were in your, the position you were in a couple years ago of like, I want to do this series, and should I do it and should I not? And what should I do? What would you tell them to push them to do it?
This is what I will say is have supportive people in your life. If not people, have a supportive person who believes in the project, right? Because it's hard to totally be self-motivated or, ideally, if you're getting no feedback, you'd still be able to, soldier through. But, have one person, at least one person who believes in you and believes in the project, and just listen to that person. Right. Yeah. So, it could be Chrissy, it could be a partner, just one person who believes in you. You only need one.
Yes. And that's a great way to say, this is what Game Changers does. Our platform, was created to make sure there was a large stage for anybody who wanted to jump on it, whether that be blogs, whether that be videos, whether that just wants to be like posts or memes or infographics every once in a while. Bring your stuff to us. Email us at ocdgamechangers@gmail.com. We want to be able to share your message, share what you're doing, because all of our voices matter, and we need all of our voices to find the thousands of people out there that don't even know they have OCD, and to figure out how to get them help and how to get them hope. So your voice matters, and whatever you're going to do, just like Elliot said, like there are people out there that are going to support. It takes a while with mental health, and the reason why is the stigma. People aren't going to like your stuff because they're like, well, if I like it, then 10 other people are going to see that I like this. And what if they mean this? Like, it's so funny when I would do posts, like live videos, I would get like all these views for like health OCD and this. And then people are liking. You do POCD, it's like crickets.
Oh, yeah. That needs to get more love.
People are like, really? I'm not liking that.
Or like when people use examples like in books, they're not going to go for POCD. I feel like there should be more public-facing material about it, because those are the people who probably need it the most.
I know.
Who feel like most stigmatized.
Probably on my
100%.
channel, people are tired of hearing about it because I literally use it in almost every example.
Good. Keep that up.
It's so underrepresented. But yeah, so the takeaway and what I want to emphasize is not only to people listening, but you as well, Elliot, is all of our voices matter. We all need to be doing what we're doing, and we're saving lives. So thank you for saving lives.
You got it. And thank you for saving lives, and thank you for your awesome peer support platform. That's going to be really, I hope, continues to grow, and it's so needed. Really.
Yeah. It's been great. It's been really magical so far. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed it keeps going. So anyway, Elliot, any final words?
Final words. You are great. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. Just keep on doing what you're doing. You got to keep moving.
Yep, we got to keep moving. Elliot, thank you for who you are and what you do. So appreciative of you. I'm so glad that we're connected and we're friends. And I look forward to your second series, and we will be promoting it on OCD Game Changers.
All right. I appreciate that. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. If you want to get in touch with Elliot, you can go to www.myOCD. Oh, let me banner it. Let me banner. I can banner it. Here we go. myocdcare.com, and you can contact him through his website. Check him out on YouTube at myocdcare, or you can find the videos there on his website. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Game Changers. Yeah, you're awesome, and I just appreciate you as a person. We'll just say
that. I'm taking that to the bank.
And to everybody who tuned in today, thank you so much. If you want to make a donation to OCD Game Changers, please go to ocdgamechangers.com. If you want to push out your advocacy stuff, ocdgamechangers@gmail.com. We look forward to you becoming an advocate, you being able to impact people's lives, and you being able to save lives. We will see you not this week, but next week with Jessica Serber. You're going to be talking about OCD and grief for a fireside chat. It's going to be awesome. So I'll see you there.
Take care. Bye.